Howdy people, it's Zoe, and welcome to today's episode of Swear We Aren't Lying. I am currently alone in my room, wrapped in a blanket, drinking a aftershock from Depresso, and I'm just living my best life. The power is currently out at my house because of the weather that Chloe mentioned in the last episode, where we've been dealing with immense snow. Snow's done, but the aftershock of the snow, the aftermath, is that they have to do a lot of power stuff. So I'm trying to take this opportunity where there are no excess noises, no excess whatever, to bother me to make this episode. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about mental health and depression, anxiety, different things along those lines. And so if this episode is something you can't listen to right now, it's not healthy for your brain, it's not good for your mental, I recommend finding something that we have that's a little bit more uplifting, a little more giggly, because this one's probably going to have some giggles, but not a lot. So if that's something you need, there's tons of other options on this page that are going to make you laugh rather than possibly cry. But yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about some stuff, so let's get into it. I think I was always pretty aware of mental health as a kid, whether that was just realizing that somebody's energy seemed a little off. I always had a lot of empathy for people, and I had a lot of people in my life that just dealt with mental health, whether that was anxiety, depression, or borderline personality disorder, just things that kind of went across that big board that mental health is. And I was just surrounded by it. I had friends with OCD, so it was just like different things like that I just was around. So I saw it. It was very real to me, and it was never a problem. It was never like, oh, you have that. Oh, I'm gonna avoid you. It was just like, oh, okay. Like I just knew that there were certain things that I should avoid saying, doing, whatever. Being cautious of how I spoke, being aware of my just the way that I carried myself around those people. And I never really realized that I had a lot of things that I needed to work on or be aware of in myself that didn't really show up very strongly until I was a little older. I was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age. I don't know exactly what age, but it was definitely there. I was definitely that kid that couldn't pay attention. I was really spacey. I was zoned out a lot. I really just had a hard time in school. And I mean, we talked about it in that school episode where it is really hard to be a student when the school system is not designed for people that are neurodivergent. And so I just had a really hard time. I really struggled. I really hated every waking moment I was in a classroom. And especially if I didn't like the subject. If I liked the subject, I could kind of push through and I could be like, okay, I kind of like biology is fun. Like I could kind of do this. But if it was hard, I really hated it. And, so I already had that going for me. I really didn't like being at school sometimes. I had a lot of friends and I'm really grateful for that, but I also just really wasn't doing so good. I mean, I had this one girl in my school that continually, from I think 3rd grade all the way up to 8th grade, just continually kind of came for my neck, whether that was subtly, she would just be really rude to me, talk a lot of shit about me, spread lies about me. It was just really awful. And I would go home crying every single day because this one girl was just kind of a bitch. And she told this guy that I liked him in 6th grade. He was an 8th grader. And that ruined my entire 6th grade, experience. His friends would bully me. They blocked the locker room door so I couldn't go to lunch. I had to shove them out of the way. It was definitely a badass moment on my part. But it was just awful. It messed me up. I hated it. Everybody hated her for me in that sense. But they were like, you really did not need to do Zoe like that. You did not need to, really ruin her experience of 6th grade. It's your first time in 6th grade. They're all bigger kids, and you just feel, I don't know, out of place. And then for somebody to go in and just screw it up even more for you, it was awful. And I remember not wanting to leave my bed, not wanting to leave my room, not just to not go to school, but for most things. And I don't know, it was an experience that I'd never had before. I had a friend that struggled with depression at that age, and I knew that it was hard for them, but it was also kind of like, I don't know what that means. I don't quite understand that. I'm always happy. What do you mean I'm not sad? And I just didn't understand what it looked like. I didn't understand that the symptoms weren't just being sad, that they weren't just like hurting yourself in different ways. I didn't realize that it was also just like the debilitating feeling of not wanting to do anything. No motivation, the lack of wanting to do anything good for yourself. And I didn't understand that. I was really confused because all of the things I was doing still kind of felt like me, but just like a me that was not fully charged. And I didn't understand that that was kind of the beginning of my depression and how it started. And it was just really sneaky and subtle. And I started becoming more aware of it. I started to become more conscious of it as I got more into like later middle school and early high school. I had no friends my freshman year of high school. I had to make new friends all from the beginning. I went from knowing my friends from 3rd grade all the way to 8th grade, having to start completely over and only knowing one person and having to hope that that person still liked me from when they met me, and having to hope that they were willing to introduce me to all of their friends, and then hoping that those people that they introduced me to actually liked me. It was something that I hadn't had to do since 3rd grade. I did not have to make new friends. And it was really weird. And I was really angry with my parents because they decided that homeschooling and independent study was the best option. I didn't make the softball team at the high school that I was going to be playing softball for. So I had to kind of do something else. And when I tell you that really, really fucked me up, I was ruined emotionally, and I hated everything. I had the same kind of realization senior year when I quit softball so that I could work, so that I could go to college or do YWAM. I was like, I don't have anything. Softball is the only thing that I am. And I was having a mini identity crisis as a 13, 14-year-old person. I did not need that at that age. It was not something that I needed, and it was not good for me. I was dealing with my own stuff, but then I also had a lot of friends that were younger than me that were dealing with their stuff, and they'd bring it to me. And because I love to listen and I love to give advice when advice is wanted, I would just spill all of these things of wisdom that I had for some reason, and I would never take my own advice. I'd be like, well, if you're not doing really well, reach out for help. If you're not doing well, it's okay to feel like garbage sometimes, because that means you're real. Or I would just share what I was feeling. I was like, hey, I hear you and I understand you're dealing with this. And it was all from my heart, genuine and real. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, no one likes me. Everybody hates me. And I'd be feeling all of these feelings. And then I wouldn't even consider my own advice that I just gave my 2 friends. Ever. It was awful. And something that I prided myself on, but I don't anymore because it is not healthy, is that my depression was very undercover. I was not the person that you could look at and go, oh, she's depressed for sure. Her life sucks. She hates everything. It was, I'm gonna keep myself completely okay so that I don't throw off the matrix of the world that I'm living in. I do not want to be the reason that this world that I have created for myself ends up in shambles. No one needs to know that I don't like my life, and no one needs to know that I hate everything, and no one needs to know that I just don't want to be. I don't know. And I wasn't at the point where I wanted to not be a part of the world. I never got there. But it was a weird line, and I feel like only if you've ever experienced this, you'd understand. It's so hard to explain it. But I wasn't suicidal. It was it's fine. If I don't go to school tomorrow, no one will realize, and it's fine. I can kind of have a day off. And that's how I justify it to myself. You deserve a day off. Just don't go to school. Or you're fine. It's fine if you don't go to softball practice. No one's going to care. Somebody else will play first base. It's not going to matter. And I just kind of started undervaluing myself in a way where it was, if I don't go to something, no one will care. But I have a huge problem with FOMO, where no matter if I was like, oh, if I don't go, no one's going to care. I was like, I'm going to care. I'm not going to be at the party. I need to be at the party, because if something fun happens at the party and I am not there, I'm going to miss the inside jokes. I'm going to miss out on the fun. I'm going to miss out on whatever. And that was my huge problem, was that my problem to myself, it wasn't actually a problem. I think it was definitely something that actually helped me and saved me in a way, was the fact that I couldn't allow myself to not be places. And the FOMO that I had kind of outweighed the debilitating depression that was going on inside of my body. And I had an issue, which I realize now is not good, is I still to this day do not like negative emotions. I am a very positive thinker, outlook always good, outcome will be great. Even if it doesn't seem like it's going to be great, trust me, it'll be fine. And I have lived that way for as long as I can remember. And because of that, I pushed away a lot of the negative. And people probably thought, oh my gosh, she's just so positive. Oh my gosh, I wish I could be as positive as her. No, it was the fact that if I dealt with my negative emotions, I would shut down. And if someone brought something negative to me, shut down. If something negative happened to me, we're going to shove that down into the deep depths of my toes. And we will not deal with that till another 6 months later, when I have an emotional breakdown and all of my issues just come out full throttle and I don't know how to handle myself. And I did that, I want to say, pretty religiously. It was pretty regular, where I would, for 6 months, just shove everything. And my small group at my church would be like, you're like the shover. It was a joke that I was a shover. And everyone knew I was a shover, where I shoved all of my feelings that weren't good deep in the depths of my feet, and they build up. And then I would have panic attacks because I felt like I couldn't breathe, because it was no longer a metaphor of shoving. It became like a physical feeling of shoving, where I'd feel like I was bottling it up and then the lid wouldn't fit anymore. And then I would shove one more thing and the lid would explode. And then it would be so to the point where I felt like I had socks that I had shoved into my bottom of my purse or something. And the socks had reached my esophagus, and I was like, I can't breathe. And then it would just be an overpouring of emotions, and I would lose my mind on my couch in my living room with my parents. Or it would be at a winter camp or a summer camp at church, where I would be so overwhelmed with emotions that all of my emotions would come out at once. And it's a lot to deal with, especially at a young age when you're still figuring yourself out. I didn't know what to do with all of it, and it was bad. I ended up going to therapy I want to say end of my junior year all the way through senior year. I had a friend that was going to a therapist counselor for a while, and they recommended that they're great. She's a wonderful person. She makes you feel seen. You'll make progress, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I don't know. It wasn't that I didn't like therapy. It was that I didn't want to do it. I had no desire of being someone that spoke to someone else about my issues, because 1, I didn't want to be a burden. 2, they were my issues, not yours, so what did it matter to you? And I just don't know how to communicate. Didn't, past tense. I know how to communicate now. I had a really hard time with communicating my feelings. I could not even imagine putting a word to the feeling of anger. It would just kind of be like, I feel a little, and I would make sounds. And my therapist was like, Zoe, what does that mean? There's nothing, that's not a word. And so I had to continually say, I feel really upset and irritated, but I'm also I want to cry. And I had to put words to the sounds that I kept making to describe what I was feeling, because I had shoved my feelings down for so long that I never felt them. So I never really knew what they were. I just knew that it made me feel ugh. I was like, it makes you feel gross and icky and sticky and grimy. And I was like, oh, I feel angry. And in that season of my life, I was profoundly angry. I had so much going on that was just too much. My best friend was, not telling me a lot of stuff because she literally couldn't. And then I found out she was moving. My other best friends were moving to a different state, and I didn't know I'd see them again. My other best friend was the one that got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And so I was coming to terms and finding out that our relationship was very different than what I had expected or what I had thought it was from the jump. I also was knowing that I was leaving a lot of people behind, and I was moving as well. I was moving to Australia. So I had a lot happening, and those are all really big things for a 17-year-old to deal with. But it would have been totally different if I was dealing with it at once. Like, oh, only one of my friends is moving, even maybe two. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm just moving and no one else is. It was the fact that it was all at once. And I don't know, there was so much happening. It was just so insane, profoundly intense. And I don't know, I wish that upon no one. I wish at that time in my life that everything kind of was spread out better. But obviously not. It's been a few years now and I can't go back. But yeah, it was hard. And at that time I was also dealing with the fact that I kind of wanted to get all of my shit out of the closet. I was going to go meet my biological mother for the first time before I moved to Australia. And so that was just a little bit of like a really heavy cherry on top of my sundae. It was a lot. And it caused me so much anxiety. And I was talking to my therapist. I was like describing my feelings. I feel like I'm just overwhelmed and I don't know how to like do this. And I feel like this. And I would just start describing anxiety to her. And she's like, it sounds like you've got anxiety. I'm like, yo, I know so many people with anxiety, but I don't have anxiety. And it's because I didn't have panic attacks. I wasn't having anxiety attacks. I'd get to a part where I would almost have one, and then I would like talk myself down. Or I'd get to the part where my anxiety attacks were happening, but they weren't as big as other people's. And I think that's a huge problem with mental health sometimes. And the people that have it is that we compare our symptoms to other people's symptoms. I know people who, when they have panic attacks, they're debilitating, they can't do certain things, they end up being sick or whatever. And that's how it looks for them. My anxiety is that I feel like I can't breathe, I feel nauseous, I start getting really shaky, I don't understand, like I feel disoriented, I start to kind of disassociate, and it looks completely different than the next person. I've had them where I've been in my car trying to get my tires pumped with air because I don't know how to fix things in cars sometimes. And I'm sitting in front of a gas station calling my mom, hysterically crying because 1, I'm tired, 2, I'm hungover, 3, my dad's truck is not filling up with air and I don't know what to do. And I start just sobbing and I'm shaking. It's like the baby crying when like the baby's crying because they don't know what they want, but they want something. You just can't get yourself together. And I'm doing that in my dad's truck in Orange County in front of a gas station because I can't get the tire to fill with air. But it's also because I'm upset that my dad thinks I don't know what I'm doing, and like I'm putting my own feelings on other people, and it's this whole thing. It's anxiety. And I don't know. I wish I knew that that's something that I struggled with. I wish I knew it sooner because there were so many things that I look back at where I'm like, wow, you were just having a panic attack. Oh, you were just about to have a panic attack. And, I think that would have been helpful to know, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever age it was happening at, to know that what was going on was actually kind of normal and it wasn't bad. And there's ways to cope with it. There's ways to, not freak out, and there's ways to see it ahead of time and tackle it then and there before it gets to the point where you're hysterically crying in your dad's car. And yeah, I think it needs to be even more normalized than it already is. I think we've made progress, in the communities that we're all in, where I told a manager one time, I was like, hey, I'm having a really bad day. I'm having a panic attack. I need to go outside. And she's like, okay, take your time, because I get really itchy and hot when when it's about to start happening, when I'm like, okay, it's coming, I can feel it. My body gets hot and I get itchy, and so I have to go somewhere that's cold or put ice cubes on my body. And so I was like, hey, I gotta go outside real quickly. And she's like, you know what, take your time, you're good. And that's so much better than I feel like it even used to be, not even a few years ago, where if you were dealing with anxiety or whatever, it was kind of like, suck it up, you're fine. This is already tremendous steps, but it's obviously, it obviously could be more. I almost went home one day and my manager was super chill about it. My dad brought me some medication that I needed one time and it was no big deal. It was just this whole thing where I felt really supported in my job, even though I was freaking out about things that weren't that deep. And I think that's something that I've learned, is to help myself identify what the anxiety is coming from, and being like, okay, why are you anxious? Okay, it's this. Is it a really, is it a valuable, what's the word? Is it a logical reason to be anxious right now? No. But you're obviously feeling that way, so what can you do? Or it's, okay, that's a really logical reason to be feeling anxious. I totally get that. What can we do? And it's telling myself the things I need to hear. Obviously, everyone needs to hear different things. That's what helps me kind of go off of the ledge of panic attack mode, where I feel like everything's going to crumble and fall on the ground. And I think also what's been helpful is knowing that I have a support system, and I know it's not fully something that everybody can relate to, where some people's parents don't believe mental health's real, or they don't have a diagnosis on what's going on in their body and their mind. And I know that I'm very lucky that I, one, am in therapy, two, have been diagnosed with different things so that I actually know what's going on, and three, have parents that are super supportive and friends that are super supportive. But I've also been in a situation where I have not been supported, and that was really hard. And I think that that's one of those moments where I was already questioning this friendship, but for it to take a turn the way that it did, and in this moment, it was one of those moments where you're like, okay, I think we're cool. I know we have our issues, but they're they still love me and they care about me. This was the moment for me where I went, nope, I lost them. They're gone. They're no longer in my life that way, probably ever again. I was at a party with some friends, and I was just not having a good day in the beginning. I had met my friends at this place, and I had brought a projector to the party. We were gonna watch a movie, and my projector is little, muy pequeño, little itty bitty dude. And it was not working for some reason, and I took it home that next week, and it worked fine. So something was up. I don't know what it was. But it wasn't working, and this friend ripped into me, ripped me a new one because of the projector not working, just came for me and my projector, which I was like, you can come from me, but why are you coming for my projector? Kept calling it a Wish projector. I was like, first of all, it's from Amazon. You're a hater. But I was just like, dude, you need to chill out. It's just a projector. It's not that deep. We can still have a fun time. And, it's whatever. Breathe. And dude wasn't breathing. Dude was upset. And we were all sitting by the pool and, doing what the young adult folk do. And kicking it, chilling, having a grand old time. And I was starting to get really anxious, and I could feel it starting to run up my legs, through my stomach. I could just feel it traveling up my body, to the point where I started to really disassociate, because I was like, it's fine. If I just go to my happy, safe place, everything will be fine. Everything will be good if I just chill. Everything will be fine. And I couldn't quite find the space. I started to feel like I had no control over my body. I started to feel like I was almost out of body, I was looking around outside of it was just really weird. I had never experienced this before. And I went to the bathroom, I splashed some water on my face, and I was like, you are present, you are here, you are at the pool, at work, you're fine, you're surrounded by people that care about you. Or so I thought. But I asked my friends that were in the pool, just hanging out with me, and I was like, hey, you guys, I'm really anxious right now. Am I good? I'm not doing anything stupid right now, right? And the two girls were like, you're absolutely fine. You're doing great. If you need anything, let us know. You're good, girl. You're fine. You're chilling. And my friend, who I had thought would have been saying the exact same thing, goes, "You're fine. Just drink some more alcohol. You'll be fine." And that's the last thing you need to hear when you're, one, a little bit tipsy, two, not really doing so hot. I'm like, I just asked you if I'm okay because I can't tell. What I need from you is for you to go, "You seem a little off. Do you need something?" Or, "No, you're totally good. You're chilling, man." And rather than me running with the two girls who say that I'm fine, my mind instantaneously goes, "You're not being supported. You need to go. Run now. Leave." And everything I was feeling before, the disassociating, the out-of-body feelings, amped up tenfold. And so my friend leaves. He goes to the jacuzzi to sit with other people. I'm still at the pool. And at that point, that's when I go up to the bathroom to go, figure out my life. I go sit back down, try to regroup. Doesn't work. So I look at the time. It's only 9:30, almost 10. I'm like, I'm not gonna leave. That's stupid. But I realize that my body is communicating with me very strongly that I need to not be here and I don't feel safe. So I get up again, I pack my stuff, and my keys are in my friend's apartment. So I have to go get the keys from friend, walk up the stairs in the dark to his apartment, find out how to open things, and drive home. And I'm going over to get the keys, and I'm like, "Hey, can I get your keys?" He goes, "I'm busy right now." And I'm like, "Dude, I just need your keys. Are they on the table?" And he goes, "I don't know, check." So I have to walk over and get his keys, walk up the stairs, and as I'm walking up the stairs to leave the pool, I start breathing really heavy, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm aware I'm out of shape. Shut up." I start to think I'm just out of shape. It's not that deep. But then I realized, no, this isn't me breathing heavy because these are stairs. This is me breathing heavy because I'm having a panic attack. And I start realizing it, and then it gets worse because I'm not in a place that I know. I'm not fully aware of my location. I don't know what my surroundings are. I don't know who's going to see me. I start to get embarrassed, but I'm also kind of I just need to get to my car. So I'm walking up the stairs to his apartment. I get in his room. I'm fumbling with the keys to get the door to open. Finally get the keys in, and everything's fine. I'm in the apartment at this point. I sit down on his couch, sob, just start sobbing the same way that I cried in the car in front of the gas station. It was full throttle, full force, full-blown panic attack. And it stemmed from the fact that I was not being supported by my friend. I was being completely kind of shit on, made fun of, and just not being supported. I, kind of collect myself, get my keys, take his keys back. And as I'm taking his keys back to him, I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta go, man." He's like, "Okay, bye." And I was like, "Whatever, I'll see you later." The friend that he had gotten up to go hang out with, and the reason he left the pool, I had met this person 2 days prior. He comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Zoe, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm totally fine." Asks me again, "Are you sure you're okay? Are you positive you're good?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Okay, I just want to make sure." How is it that somebody I had met 2 days before knew I was not okay, but the person who was supposed to be one of my best friends was not aware of my okayness? And it was really painful. I was like, this is not okay. And that is what I've seen with so many people when they have different situations happening, different breakdowns, or panic attacks of those kinds of things. I can't speak right now. I'm at the point where I'm getting anxious talking about this. But no, it makes me angry that people don't have support systems, and that's what that looks like when they're having situations, episodes, whatever it might look like for people. And that was the first time I've never been supported when I'm having something wrong with me in the moment. And I drove home, disassociating the whole way home. I got home and just continued to cry and collapse, and it was really sad. And I don't know, I just want to encourage anyone that listens to this. I don't know who's going to listen to it, how many people, whatever. But I just want to encourage you, like, if you have people in your life that you know struggle with different things, have different mental illnesses and mental health issues, be a supportive person in that person's life. Be someone that they know they can go to and that they know isn't gonna, like, give them crap for not wanting to come to an event because they're having a bad day or having an episode or everything is overstimulating for them. Yesterday, everything for me was overstimulating. I was eating dinner with my family and every noise was too loud and everything was just too much. I couldn't do it. I was just overwhelmed. And that led me to have a really shitty attitude with my parents. Sorry, mom and dad. But I was just so overwhelmed. And I didn't know how to explain that because I think I'm the only one in my household that has ADHD. So trying to explain different things to people can be really hard and it can be really embarrassing or what it might be for each person. But be someone that you know people can go to. Be somebody that you know. Be someone that people feel safe to say, hey, I'm really overstimulated right now. I need to go. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope it wasn't too much, but I really wanted to share my life, my story with y'all. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you're still listening, thank you. And I will see you guys hopefully with Chloe. Bye.